if you look at the standings right now in the NFL, it's very interesting in that we've still got two preseason Super Bowl favorites, or at least favorites in their conferences. They were at the top of the board in the AFC and NFC, respectively, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions on the outside looking in of their respective conferences' playoff fields. The Lions right now are 8th in the NFC. Now, part of that is they have a game in hand on the Niners. The Niners didn't have their bye yet, so the Lions are 7-4. San Francisco is 8-4. But we know the uphill battle the Chiefs have been fighting to claw their way back into the AFC playoff picture. They're now 6-5, and still technically via tiebreakers behind the Texans and the Steelers as the 10th seed in the AFC. But I think most of us, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, so maybe we start with this as the premise. Most of us agree that we would expect the Chiefs and the Lions in the playoffs, right?
I think 1,000%. Yeah,
okay.
I would trust them to jump, some of the teams above them more than I would any other, team that's still looking to get in.
So with that premise in front of us, most of the football watching and betting world expects the Chiefs and the Lions to be in the playoffs. That brings us around to, well, somebody from each conference has to fall out of the picture who is currently in the picture. And I thought that was a conversation worth having, especially on a Tuesday, which is always Futures Day here on Bet Sweats, as to who will miss the playoffs in each conference. Current standings, we'll just run through them real quick. In the AFC, the Patriots are the 1 seed, Denver 2, Indy 3, Baltimore technically atop the AFC North via tiebreaker right now over the Steelers. Wild cards would be the Chargers, Jags, and Bills. Texans, Steelers, Chiefs right there on the bubble outside looking in. In the NFC, Rams the 1 seed, solidly so, a game ahead of the Eagles and Bears, who are the 2 and 3 respectively. Tampa still clinging to that lead in the NFC North would be the 4 seed. Seattle, Green Bay, San Francisco would be your wild cards, with Detroit, the aforementioned Panthers, technically, and the Cowboys still technically at 500, all on the bubble and on the outside looking in. So, again, to go back to the original premise, Kate, if we expect the Chiefs to make the AFC playoff field, looking at the prices that we have available to us on teams to miss the playoffs, those odds, who are you looking at right now as the team you would most likely expect and or the team you would most likely bet on to miss the AFC playoff field who's currently in?
There are 2 of them that caught my eye initially. One, the Chargers. Chargers schedule going forward is tough. Yes. I mean, you should beat the Raiders, but you have Philly, Kansas City, Dallas. I'm not sure the Chargers offense can keep up with Dallas even. And Dallas's defense hasn't looked as awful as it did early on in the season. You play Houston and Denver. That's rough. That's a rough schedule there, especially with the offensive line issues that the Chargers have had just with so many injuries throughout the season. Like, I don't fully trust them there. And then you also have Jacksonville, which their schedule is a lot easier, but you do have the Colts twice and Denver. I'm not sure the Jags win those ones. Jacksonville feels like a team that's won a lot of games this year that they maybe shouldn't have. I don't know. I just don't fully trust them. So they're not a team that I want to back to officially make the playoffs as a wild card because they just don't feel like they're trustworthy. So those would be my 2. The prices are not great, Chris. Like, you get plus 115 on the Chargers, plus 240 on Jacksonville. I was surprised that number was as high as it was, but those are the 2 that I would feel safest betting.
And I tend to agree with you. I think the Chargers would be my pick. You're, like you said, at that price, might not be worth the bet. But you look at their schedule and the way it stacks up, it's definitely, top 10 most difficult schedule remaining in the league. And maybe you chalk up a win against the Raiders, but then there's, 5 other games that I think could go either way, if not end up as losses. So the Chargers could be backsliding into a 9-8 record, and that wouldn't shock any of us. And I don't think that's going to get it done in the AFC this year. The one that PJ Glasser filled in yesterday here on Bet Sweats, the one that PJ and I kicked around just a little bit that catches your eye because of the price and because they've been so wildly inconsistent over the last 6 to 8 weeks, is the Buffalo Bills. Now, they've got the Jets, the Browns, and the Bengals left on the schedule. Okay, 3 wins. Book them. But they've got interesting matchups against the Patriots, Eagles, and this weekend against the Steelers. Now, the Steelers are another Jekyll and Hyde team that nobody can figure out what the hell they're going to be from drive to drive, let alone game to game, which makes this weekend's game obviously massive. And they've already lost to the Patriots. So with that being said, at the price of, better than 5-1 to miss the playoffs, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Buffalo could miss the playoffs. And I don't know if by the time it becomes clearer to us that they may actually miss the playoffs, the price isn't going to drop drastically. So that is one that after talking about it with PJ yesterday, I started to think about just a little bit. Would I be willing to put a little change on the Bills at better than 5-1 to miss the playoffs?
I mean, yeah, I think that is probably a really good look because even though, sure, they have Cleveland on the schedule as well, Cleveland's beat some good teams this year. I mean, they're 3 wins? I mean, they beat Green Bay. I shouldn't say they beat some good teams. That's a little bit of an overreaction, but it's just that the Bills, when they've lost, who expected them to lose to Miami in the manner that they did? Who expected them to lose to the Falcons like they did? And those were road games too. So they haven't been consistent on the road. Your road games coming up are the Steelers, New England, and Cleveland. Also, you play Cincinnati. You would expect to win there. Joe Burrow's supposed to be back for that game. If he just lights it up offensively, there are a lot of kind of maybe not 50-50 games, but ones that you would be more nervous on. So plus 550, that's a great price. And this is not the same Bills team that we've seen in recent years just dominate their opponents. Chris, didn't going into the season, they have the very easiest schedule in the entire league, and they're still struggling. Do I have that right?
I think it's set up as one of the softer ones coming into the year. Yeah. Just because of the AFC East. And I think the Patriots improvement probably, push that strength of schedule the other way, obviously. But yeah, it's interesting that they're in the situation they're in. On the NFC side, again, if the Lions are going to make the playoffs on the outside looking in right now, who's that team that you look at, given the prices that are available as, I'd bet them to miss the playoffs.
Green Bay.
Yeah.
Plus 350, right? You look at their remaining schedule. I mean, this game against the Lions on Thanksgiving is huge for the Lions. You can't lose both games this season to Green Bay and expect to make the playoffs because you're certainly not winning the division doing that. Then you have 2 against the Bears, the Ravens. The schedule for Green Bay does not get any easier. And as good as Green Bay's defense has looked so far, I do feel like they have a lot of improvement on offense to make just in the consistency from game to game mark. So plus 350, it would be Green Bay for me.
Yeah, I tend to agree given the price. A lot of people listening to this are going to be like, well, wait, I mean, I get the Bears are 8-3, but look at the schedule they have left. And are they for real? Are they legit? And I would say maybe not, but the price is plus 135 at BetMGM. So the market still doesn't believe totally, hasn't bought all the way in on the Bears. And that's why I may look at it and say, okay, given the fact the Bears still have both games left against the Packers, they've still got the Niners, Lions, Eagles, and a game against the Browns. They've got all those left on the schedule. You could look at that and tell me, okay, maybe things fall apart a little bit down the stretch, and we're talking about the Bears as a 10-win team maybe. If things fall apart down the stretch, maybe lose a tiebreaker or something, or that Green Bay tie comes into play somehow in a tiebreaker, especially with 2 left against the Packers. And maybe they miss the playoffs. But I can't bet it at plus 135.
No, you can't. I just think there's clearly no value there whatsoever. Take a flyer on some of these teams that, I mean, even the Lions at plus 280, they lose to Green Bay this week. It would be shocking for the Lions to miss the playoffs. It would feel weird if they did, but I would take that number, obviously, over a plus 135 for the Bears to miss.